Okay, I have 9 o'clock. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded. And if you are, unless you're a board member, we'd appreciate it if you would mute your mics until we get to the public comment section. So we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or amendments to the agenda? And I have one to start out with. I want to add under new business a discussion topic on a handicapped playground, and we'd like to have the board briefly talk about whether they're in favor or not of us looking into this for Ocean Pine. So I'd like to add that as an amendment.
Hey, Larry, point of order. We have to actually move to amend the agenda.
I just wanted to let everybody know that's what I'd like to amend first, Judge, Doug, so that they know that that's what we're talking about. Frank is going to. Frank has an issue to discuss too.
Yes.
So can we have a motion?
And Doug, Larry, I'm sorry. I need to add a couple of appointments to the agenda.
Okay, well, can we have a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Let's, you want to discuss?
Nope.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so again, I would like to add a discussion topic on the exploring the possibility of a handicap playground for Ocean Pines. Colette, you have a list of appointments that you'd like to add?
Yes, I'd like to add Marlene Ott and as a new member to the Communications Advisory Committee, and Elaine Brady as a reappointment for 1 year.
Marlene Ott for first term.
Yes.
Communications.
Yes.
And who is the second one?
The second one is Elaine Brady. This will be an extended term. She's been on the committee for several years and she wishes to extend for 1 year.
And that's for communications also?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, are there any other amendments?
Mine, Larry.
Yes.
Okay, and an explanation. We are moving the vote on the short-term rentals to the April 21st board meeting. Okay, we are doing so to have a town hall on April 17th. This is the last move of this item. It is going to be voted on this year.
Okay, and Frank and I discussed this this morning. There has been an unbelievable outpouring from the community, both positive and negative, on the short-term rental motion. So we feel that instead of turning this meeting into a 4 or 5 hour meeting today, what we'd like to do is basically table this motion when we get to it, and then have a town hall meeting solely addressing the short-term rental motion, so that the community has a opportunity to express all their opinions. And if from that town hall meeting any adjustments need to be made to the short-term rental motion, then it will give the work group time to do that. but we want to have a vote by the next board meeting, and I think that's appropriate. Now, what our intent today was to open up, when we open up public comments in regard to the short-term rentals, I was going to ask to waive Robert's Rules of Order so that we could have a vigorous interaction between Frank and the board and the community on this issue. I would ask at this point that since we are going to schedule a town hall meeting on Saturday, the April 17th, and we're going to do it at 9 o'clock in the morning, that if you have comments relating to the short-term rental issue, that you hold off and come to the meeting on the 17th. Now, there may be some individuals on the meeting this morning that may not be able to make it and feel like they want to make a comment today, and that's fine. We don't want to tell anybody they can't make comments during public comments, but because we are going to do a separate town hall, I would ask that you attend that meeting and make your comments at that time. All right, so let's go through. The next item is approval of minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from February 20th, 2021, the regular meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or changes? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting on March 1st, 2021?
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any changes? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Excuse me. So for under the president's remarks, there's one issue that we wanted to announce this morning, that a couple of weeks ago, the board announced to the community that we would be releasing summary reports on the two recent investigations, the management investigation and also the investigation on the complaint filed by former employee Phillips against me. Those reports are done and they will be available by emailing or coming to the admin office. You can email Michelle Bennett and Michelle will make available electronic copies. We will not be posting these reports on social media. So if you are interested in getting copies of these reports, you need to request it just like any other book or record from the association. The other comment that I wanted to make under the president's remark is that, as I said earlier, there's been a huge outpouring of opinions, both positive and negative, about these short-term rental guidelines. And I want to make sure everybody understands that that the board is receiving information both positive and negative, and we hope to have the opportunity at the town hall meeting to address any of those issues. And if any changes need to be made, the work group should be able to get that done before the next board meeting. Okay, John, GM report.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Everybody hear me? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, Michelle. All right, so let's start off with the GM leadership report. What I like to try to do in the beginning is show some pictures of something we've been working on, whether it's racket sports, whether it's the yacht club, golf course, whatever. So today we did some very good work up at the yacht club. We sent out a communication on it. Just want to show you some pictures, and I'll back it up within my report. Okay, turn the page. All right, so here's a new slide. Your assessment dollars at work. So every month when I come forward as the GM, I believe that I am presenting with the financials, what exactly we're doing, the board, the team, and everybody with the assessment dollars. I realize it, and I'm sure the board does, that everything we're able to do in a constructive manner comes from the assessment dollars that you all pay as well as I do. Turn the page. All right, so the GM's leadership report, I like to start off with initiatives, what's going on, the racket sports update. We do have normal maintenance going on at the courts. I will be coming to the board today. I've already gotten approval to go forward with a contract to repair the cracks at the courts. You'll see that later on in the presentation. Rec and Parks, Robin Hood demolition has taken place. Replacement of the playground will start on March 22nd. As you know, in the budget, there was 2 separate playgrounds that were approved. We're starting with the Robin Hood. The other one is the Bainbridge. There'll be more on that. Obviously, with the Bainbridge drainage project, we're taking that all into account, but Debbie Donahue will have more on that. The marina, maintenance there, I'm trying to highlight all the maintenance that we're doing. We're trying to keep up with it, as well as the new construction. We did replace boards, and then the cost overall in general was $12,000, and of course it's ready. The team has it ready for the opening of the season. Ocean Pines Academy, a lot of work there. Put together a good team, led by Julie Malinowski, but it was everybody, every department was involved. Josh, shout out to Josh with all the video work that was involved. Getting all these notices. But the bottom line is this, you can read it, everything that was involved. The timeline was December to March 2021. The team met that. Now we're looking at a rollout. There's a lot of information in there that's about every department, every amenity there. It's been put together to give an education to the homeowners, anybody that has questions, as well as future or current board candidates that are looking to get information on Ocean Point. The rollout is to be determined. Julie, Josh, I mentioned project status on that, obviously is green. It's completed. Turn the page. I keep getting all these notices. Okay, North Star, I know there's been questions about North Star. Look, it's I've said it every month. There is pain involved. It is a challenge. Our team, I can tell you this, every member of the team, of the work groups, have embraced this project. And we understand that we need to get it operational, but it is a challenge, okay? So today I just want to talk about a couple highlights. The website, obviously, it was down this week. We got some notices from individuals. Josh sent out communications. I asked him to send out where we were. Josh has been monitoring the website. In fact, about 15 minutes ago, I asked him for an update. He said it's working. So what happened this week was, if you go back to some prior updates I gave, I said that I believed in layman's terms that North Star was having issues with capacity, with the load of what exactly was involved with Ocean Pines. I'm not saying they should not have had it covered. They should have. They are working on it based upon our calls. There was a transfer with their hardware to I guess let's call it in layman's terms, high-powered servers. So far, so good. All right, but there was a glitch this week with the transfer. The point-of-sale system, we had a backup plan with that. In fact, I met with Raft this week on, again, prior board updates. We took the point-of-sale system out, the North Star, out of the grill. We went with Plan B. We have a backup point-of-sale system for each amenity, yacht club, clubhouse, and the beach club. It will not be North Star. It'll be the past point-of-sale systems. Ralph and I are very comfortable with that, and good that we have backups. The point-of-sale system goes back to the sandbox, back for review. Food and beverage has given me resources to help with it as we try to get it functional, but it will not be implemented without discussions between Ralph and myself, and that sign-offs from everybody and make sure this thing works. I don't anticipate it in the coming season. Okay? North Star team, I mentioned it. I hear different things, but I can tell you this. Anybody, whether it's Debbie, Kathleen, Julie, everybody that comes in my office working on this thing, the two Steves, we're doing the best we can. All right, so hopefully I answered all that. Road closure, I mean, there's been some communication on this. There'll be more. High Sheriff, pipe replacement. I did get a lot of calls, a lot of emails from, I guess, homeowners. There was like a little cave in there or whatever. Working on it. The road will be blocked from March 22nd. We'll reopen on the 26th.
You are such a stupid ass.
I don't know if that was, but I'll continue. Mailboxes will temporarily be located on the site of High Sheriff. Drainage project.
He's given for the last. This is the third time he's given the same.
Hey, excuse me, can you mute your mic, please?
Okay, so drainage, special project, Bainbridge, just give an update. The status is green. You have all the information there. The funding, $800,000. There was a grant that we received. That's there. There was groundbreaking this week. The project has started. That was soft. They're planning to get this completed by the end of June. From all communications, all updates, complete confidence in the teams and the contractor. I think everybody's going to see a lot of improvement there. Next page. Status is green. Okay, maintenance to the yacht club. I showed you some pictures in the beginning. Basically, the ballroom, they removed wallpaper and painted. The second floor hallway, they changed bulbs. It's basically the same. The bridal suite, I mean, it looks real nice. Leah, Ralph, we're very pleased with it. The estimated cost, it came in about $15,000. We were able to do that in-house. We worked. The team was up there working on it during January when the yacht club was closed, which is typical of any type of restaurant or banquet hall. And it all worked out. And based upon all the logistics between the teams, I think we did it at a good price. Turn the page. Drainage pipe replacement. So we talked about this new type of pipe where I received approval from the board. The county had used it. We did a lot of research on it. We got a lot of recommendations. And we're going with this pipeline. Obviously, the questions I received last time and other times is, where exactly are you doing it? So I'm trying to put that in the slides so you can see. And then obviously, if anybody has any questions, they can follow up with emails. But the big thing with these pipes, we don't have to cut into the road. We basically, or that team that we hired will come in and line the pipe. And, there's a whole process that I spoke about in the past, and the team has spoken about how to do it. So we're starting with the Ocean Parkway pipes, which obviously would have been a lot of digging for us. And we've gotten some really positive feedback, and we're looking forward to this. And it's also saved money that I've spoken about in the past. It'll be overseen by Nobi and Eddie and, of course, Justin Reiner. Project status right now, green. Hope to have more on this next month. Turn the page. Customer service, there was communications on this, and I spoke about it. I have a level 1, level 2, level 3. When I first came in, the first weeks there, we updated on our customer service responsiveness, trying to answer. There was a big backup when we first got in there. When I first got in there, there's no backups now. We now have tracking with the hiring of Linda Martin, and it's all there. Level 1, level 2, level 3, and then follow-offs and sign-offs. So far, so good. Is the phone number. I have had this in the past. This is the way to go. Turn the page. All right, so there were some changes. Changes are part of any organization. With that, it's what I say is next person up, next manager up, and we certainly have bench strength. That was something we've talked about. I was tasked by several board members, if not the whole board, and we've developed. We certainly have people who are coachable. So just want to go over the new changes here so everybody's aware. New changes, some of it's the same. Aquatics Director Kathleen Cook is now responsible for beach parking in addition to the Aquatics Department. She will now report directly to the General Manager. Recreation and Parks Director Debbie Donahue is now responsible for racket sports in addition to the Recreation and Parks Department and the marinas. She's also now leading the beautification project. Just a couple of points on the beautification. Since I moved down there, I always envisioned, or I hope that someday maybe we can update Ocean Parkway or Cadell with some trees, specifically cherry blossoms, which I've always had, even though I was from New York. We certainly have the team on that. Debbie has been a part of this team also from the beginning. I think you all saw that they did bring in a couple. We're trying to do examples and then see and hopefully expand as we beautify Ocean Pines, an initiative that I started, and it's been embraced by any team members that I've asked to be on. Of course, Public Works will do the heavy lifting. One thing I got to say about working with Kathy and Debbie with their new responsibilities and everything, very coachable individuals, very positive on Ocean Pines. And I know you'll wish with me success for them, which I truly believe will happen. I've got Racquet sports managers. I just want to mention Terry and Tim doing some great stuff down there. If you're at Racquet Sports, you know what I'm talking about. Of course, then I got Public Works. I got Eddie and Nobi, which are overseeing the Bainbridge project. I have two individuals there that each have over 20 years experience in drainage in Ocean Pines. They are go-to guys for me, for all of us at Ocean Pines. I want to include the ladies also. Linda Martin, been great. Director of Finance Controller, Steve Phillips. He'll lead the strategic planning effort. He has a lot of background on that. Him and I have talked. I mean, it's a natural fit. I will get other people from the team involved with that because I think it's a very good training experience for them. And you've definitely seen that in the past. So I'm very confident with that team. Steve brings a lot to the table on that, as well as anybody else that we assign to that. And looking forward to working with those committees. Turn the page. All right, so bulkheads. I know last time I was asked for where specifically is this bulkhead for this year. So here's a all-inclusive slide that will lay that all out for you, as well as the budget. Anybody that's been working for me since I've gone in there, they know that any project we do, we look at the budget. Here's the budget. How much have we spent so far? What's the projection? What's the forecast? We do that with everything. That has been put in from day one. Every one of my direct reports have been trained on that and the way I'd like to see it and the way that we do as a team. And same thing with Steve. Of course, he leads the finance. So with that, you have all the information here, the current contract, which was approved. You can see that the payments that'll be drawn, a picture of that. Nobody gave it. He oversees it. It's got over 20 years on it. We're lucky to have him. And then there's all the addresses. Now, what I do want to say is this. I did get some calls. I did receive emails after the budget on the bulkhead. I am working with Julie and others on putting out a communication this week with a lot of detail and numbers for the bulkheads so that everybody can see it and understand where we are, why we have the increases, the history, the last several years, and what we're looking at going forward. So that communication, in addition to this, will go out this week. Turn the page.
Hey, John, can I interrupt you for just a second and hold on this page?
Okay.
I'd just like to make a comment right here. I think it's appropriate. I'm sure the association members all have received notice that next Saturday morning, we're going to have a hearing on the proposed referendum to limit spending to $1 million. I just wanted to point this out. This is an ongoing project year after year after year to keep our bulkheads in the condition that they need to be in. And if you look at the terms of this contract, the contract is almost $1.2 million. What that would mean is if this referendum is approved, each year we would have to have a referendum to approve the budget, the contract to continue the work on our bulkhead. So I'd like the community just to take a look at this and understand that maybe an unintended consequence on what would happen if this referendum is approved, that each year we would have to do a referendum on this one item. And I think we've estimated that we're going to spend probably $30,000 doing this referendum. So I just wanted to interject that. I thought it was a good place to do that. Go ahead, John.
Okay, turn the page. Like I said, there'll be more on this. I'll have a communication going out this week with the history, the fund, the reason for the increases, materials, the work that's involved, as well as what we've done for a staging area and over the next year or two. Okay, so now we're in the financials part of the presentation during the month of February. So the month of February came in better than I had anticipated, but very happy, even though we had a 17,000 decrease on the revenue side. And I'll get it as every month. Just keep getting all these messages. Sorry. As every other month, I'll explain it in the last two slides. Okay. Turn the page for the year to date. So the year to date, I know everybody, I do. I jump over to the right side, bottom right corner. Where are we? Where are we today at the end of February, right? February, March, 10 months in. So right now we have favorability to budget in a pandemic year of 1,000,001. Okay, it's pretty much been the last several months. So when I get to the detail and the explanation piece, which we've always done, you're going to see it's probably basically the same as what I've been telling you. However, we are several more months more in. We do have 2 more months that I'll talk about in the next slides. All right, so we're 1,000,001. Let's see why. So you can see the revenues and the expenses. And where we're on with that in a pandemic year. Turn the page. Okay, so just give me a second. All right, so this is for the month, the 17 unfavorable. If you look at the top, the rec parks, the general maintenance, the police, we're working with Steve and the finance team, and what we've been saying is a lot of the favorability there is the payroll. Obviously, rec and parks, they've had a plan. We've every month ripped everything apart from the beginning. So decrease in revenues, they weren't able to open up, right? Pandemic, but she was able to curtail the expenses and the payroll and get a balance. And I love the word this year. The maintenance, the same thing. We did have open positions, as you know, in the next budget, the budget that was just approved. 3 or 4 of those positions we actually didn't fill. They're still there, but we didn't fill them in the next budget. The police, basically the same. Public Works unfavorable. A couple things went on down there in this month. We did have snow, right? Snow removal, leaves, some timing. So that could just go back. So that was unfavorable there. General admin, well, some things were true up, and some adjustments there. A little unfavorable, but overall looking good. Yacht Club was unfavorable, 11,000. Obviously closed. Some salaries that need to be there. Let me just point out that because this is another question I received, and rightfully so. And Ralph and I sat down and we went through all this because I want to, make sure that what I'm seeing, he's seeing, and we are. When you're in the restaurant business or the banquet business, January and February, and there are tough months, but you got to keep your core team in place. You're gonna carry those salaries, and just like any good restaurant and anybody does, you're not going to be laying those people off. I mean, some do, some, but not at your high levels, not your chefs, not your high-end managers. Now we're able to utilize them. For instance, Leah is still working on banquets. There was work that was going on there, so we would need that no matter what as they book banquets. And you want to keep the people there. Now, we did open the clubhouse. The early indications to me is it's for January, February, it's been successful. But then obviously they utilize that people power there. Alrighty, so bottom line, around 17,000 unfavorable, not bad pandemic month. Turn the page, please. All right, so there's your year to date. Like I had mentioned, since there wasn't a lot of change the last 2 months, it's the same explanations if you've been following me and the team all year. The general admin's favorable. The big piece of that, obviously, is the PPP plan, right? 1,143,000 to the positive there. The Affordable Care Act, I think the number there probably around $125,000, and then the food and beverage. But that's in the yacht club piece was around, they received around 270. So just do some quick math with me. If you take the 1,150,000, take another 250, we received 1.4. They received about 275,000. That's 1.675, right? So if you go down to the bottom number, if you're still with me, the 1,675,000 that we received in Affordable Care Act and PPP, and you subtract it from the 1.1, which will be less when I'm done at the end of April, you can see and you can project that we probably would have lost, or as of now, we probably lost around $500,000 or $600,000. All right, so put that in perspective, and when I come back to you in April and March, that number will probably be bigger that we would have lost as an association if we had not received those grants from the government. As far as overall on this, instead of going line by line, it's basically this. Okay, savings have been on the payroll side. There has also been, I keep getting all these messages. There has also been on the maintenance side where I do have favorability, but some of that maintenance has not been done yet. We're looking at maintenance. We're working on it right now for the beach club. Now that the weather's getting good, actually we'll sit down with Eddie this week. He's gotten the prices or the bids to come in for the work we're looking at as far as the outside of the building, whether it's painted, whatever we need to do there, as well as the boards on the boardwalk there that need to be addressed. We're trying to do maintenance there so that I don't have to come in here and ask for something that's a big replacement. So that's something we're working on. The numbers are coming in less than we had anticipated when I did the forecast a couple of months ago. So I'm looking for some positive numbers there. Of course, with anything else, and I don't have a crystal ball on what's going to happen with the pandemic, but today I feel better, we feel better on the forecast that, we may not have to shut down, in April, which would have a big number on several of our amenities, especially golf. So I'm seeing some favorability there based upon the last forecast that I gave you all of a projected favorability number of 650,000. So more on that coming over the next 2 months and probably in communications. I know I get a lot of questions on that. Okay, turn the page. I think that's it for me for now. All right, Doug, you're in.
Treasurer's report.
Thanks. Next page, please. So we're still running at a 1% interest on our CDARs as compared to last month. This month we have 9.9 million in our cash accounts as opposed to 10.5 million last month, which was obviously we had some spending in that arena. And you look at the breakdown of 6.1 in CDARs and 3.8 in money markets. Next slide, please. And again, every month I've been tracking the assessment collection. Right now, as you can see, we're up to about 8.95 million, which is actually 98% of the billed assessment. Unfortunately, that still leaves us a shortfall of $181,679, but the 98% is reflective of the rate that we have been collecting assessments over the past years. As truly, we'd like to get to 100%, but and we'll certainly keep track of those delinquent accounts and address them accordingly. But we are at a pretty good pace with regard to collecting the assessments. Next item, please. We also have been tracking our reserves, as we go through the year to make sure that we, as you'll see in the next slide, as we target the reserve balance for the end of the fiscal year. You can see the breakdown there. We're now, as of the end of February, at 6.5 million across all of the reserve accounts. That's pretty much on par with where we had hoped to be at this point in time. Next item, next page, please. And interesting on this one, this is again, as we show you every month, this is a breakdown of the expenditures that have come out of the reserve funds. There have been some decisions with regard to some of the purchases that were planned that may no longer be planned. And what's interesting is if you look down at the bottom line, our projected balance in the reserve fund right now is 5.58 million. Last month, our projection was 5.2 million. So right away, we're starting to track that, and we're looking a little bit more favorable with regard to the amount of money that will be projected to be in our reserve funding at the end of the fiscal year. That, of course, can change if there's a decision or a request to come in for a spending out of the reserve fund in the next couple of months. Obviously, that number will change. But again, we track that from month to month to make sure that we are on target for making sure that we have enough in our reserve accounts to manage the operation. One other thing, I'll go back to the idea of referendum. Understand that referendum spending is an expense. It's an operational expense. So to fund a referendum, should we need to do that, it will always come out of the operational side of our budget and not out of the reserve funding. So that has a direct effect on the assessment dollars. Just a point to make sure people understand where, if we had to conduct a referendum, where that money would be pulled from in our budget. And I think that's it for me.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Okay, so I'm going to open the floor to public comments, but I would ask that we had received some correspondence from people regarding other issues besides the short-term rental. So I would ask the individuals who want to talk about short-term rental if they would wait and let the other individuals who may have other items to talk about go first. Colette?
We're seeing a lot of interest in people wanting the town hall meeting to be virtual as well as in person. Apparently, we don't have the capability of that in our system. However, I wanted to note that Josh has determined that if we can get 1,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel, we may have the capability of live streaming our meetings in the future. We have a lot of people attending this meeting today. I think that's great. It's wonderful to see this interest, and I certainly encourage everybody to subscribe as a follower to our YouTube channel so that we can get our numbers up. Presently, we have 277 followers. We need 1,000. If we can get to 1,000, we may be able to live stream meetings again, depending upon equipment. Thank you.
Marie, I see your hand is up.
Yes, I'd like to ask, so the issue with the email, the notice did not go out on Wednesday. I'm hearing conflicting things because I was told the notice was sent on Wednesday. No one I talked to got the notice on Wednesday. We got it on Friday. So at the beginning, there was a note that the this whatever computer system you're using, star something, whatever, is that related to the fact that many of us did not receive an email on Wednesday, which I believe would constitute the notification? And then I'm sorry, I'm just going to, so I can be brief. My second question is, what is the notice period? Because what I saw in the bylaws said 15 days. Civil Code 4920 says 4 days. And if you put the notice at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, that would be only 3 days notice for a Saturday meeting. Thank you. I'll mute in.
Doug, you want to address the bylaw issue on the notice?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look it up. There's some specific language in the bylaws that talk about the 3-day notice to directors for announcement of a meeting to make sure that they have all the appropriate reference material and so on and so forth. It doesn't specifically say anything regarding the membership. It does have language regarding special meetings and so on and so forth. But I'll have to look it up. And Marie, I'm looking at you. I'll look that up and get back to you with regard to the specific language. I'll point you to the portion of the bylaws that has that notification issue.
All right, John, I saw you had a question, or you were going to make a comment on the.
Yes, no. So I wanted to answer. Yeah, I just wanted to answer the piece on Doug's handling the. I just wanted to answer the piece on, was it west of North Star? And the answer is no. Whatever happened, and I was, it had nothing to do with North Star. That's all I got on that.
All right, I saw a hand raised for a Quinn.
Yes, hello, good morning. Thanks for having me. I am I'm
Excuse me, Larry, we need to have people state their name and address, Ocean Pines address.
Okay, it's Martin Quinn, 340 Ocean Parkway. So I have 2 properties in Ocean Pines, a rental, short-term rental, as well as the 340 Ocean Parkway. We love Ocean Pines. We love the community. But this raises some concerns for us. First, I want to second what Colette said. We got this email at 11 o'clock yesterday morning, which was concerning. Seemed like this was trying to be slipped under the radar. I would like to know how this is different than the process. What's prompted this? Is it a and this would be nice to have before the town hall. What has prompted this from the community, from the association? Is it complaints from the neighborhood? Is it complaints from neighbors? Is it an effort to get more revenue and issue more permits? Is this going to are these new rules going to be also applied to regular homeowners? You know, if you have more than 8 people in your house, are you going to have 4 trash cans? Are the noise ordinances, are the parking on the street and things like that all going to be applied to homeowners as well? So those are my initial comments for right now. Thank you very much.
Frank, you want to address those?
Yeah. Okay. So let me start with the first issue that you brought up. The need for these regulations has arisen because for the last 4 years, and maybe longer, but last 4 years certainly that I'm aware of, we have had in Ocean Pines 3 or 4 problem properties. Okay. As far as slipping under the radar, we began this initiative more than 2 years ago. And shortly after we started the issue, we got called into a meeting, surprise meeting with 2 county commissioners who indicated to us what the county regulations were going to be on short-term rentals. At that time, Doug Parks approached me and said, Frank, we should hold off on doing anything for short-term rentals to see what the county regulations would be and how the county regulations would affect our ability to deal with the problem properties. So we did so. When the regulations were passed, the commissioners at Snow Hill made a comment to us that this is an Ocean Pines problem. All the incorporated municipalities in the county can handle it through zoning and through police enforcement. They felt that they had done everything that they could do at the county level. And they said to us that if we need to do more as a community, that we could go back to them and speak with them for potential additional regulations that apply directly to Ocean Pines. So as this progressed last year, one of the problem properties that the address was 91 Abbyshire. Over 4 years, the police had been there 12 times. It was rented to up to 22 people. The neighborhood was completely upset because they were dealing with obnoxious, lewd behavior, trash, multiple parking infractions, people parking in their driveway, everything that you can think of. And so the county began the enforcement process under their regulations. Unfortunately, the county regulations proved to be ineffective in handling the situation. And when I say ineffective, the owner of the property, or I should say, the person that was renting the property overnight through vacation rentals by owners and Airbnb, continued to do throughout the season, continued to disrupt the neighborhood. The county was issuing $100 citations to them when they could find that they were advertising or when they were renting because they did not have a county rental license. And at that point in time, a number of members of the board went over to that property to see what was happening, along with some county officials. The person that was that held the contract with Airbnb very clearly stated to everybody that would care to listen that they had absolutely no intention of changing the way that they do business until such time as somebody could show up from Ocean Pines or the county that could evict their tenants. So the county took them to court. So I will say 2 months ago and maybe 3 months ago, we got an email from one of the commissioners that said the issue had been settled. And the way that it was settled is the courts fined the owner of the property $500. Now, let me tell you why it's ineffective. For 4 years, The people surrounding that house dealt with the problems. It was rented at up to $400 a night, and they were fined $500. Okay. Number two, the property no longer is overnight, but the owner at the beginning of the season said they were going to sell the property, and they did. Number three, the problem that made it ineffective largely was the owner of the home lived in Delaware. He leased the property under a legal lease to an LLC corporation based in Connecticut. Okay, so any enforcement on our part or on the county's part was going toward the homeowner. The person that held the legal lease that was making the money could care less. That's when we started talking, and we started talking with every official that deals with this type of property in Worcester County or in the state of Maryland that we could find. We started with the fire marshal. We talked with the fire chiefs. We talked with the police chiefs. We talked with county zoning officials, other county officials. We talked with homeowners and had homeowners on the work team that actually rent their property through VRBO and through Airbnb. We talked with people surrounding the properties that were having the problems, and then we talked with our attorneys. Our attorneys told us point blank that before we went to the county, it was in our best interest to do everything we could as a homeowners association to, in fact, control this property under our governing documents. As a homeowners association, we do not have the powers of a city to pass ordinances. We have to do that through declaration of restrictions. The best way to do it through our declarations of restrictions was through our architectural guidelines, which applies to all sections of Ocean Pines. So that's why we came about doing exactly what we did. And the enforcement will be exactly the same as a declaration of restriction violation, which is, and that's the process that we have today for it. If there's a violation of our declaration of restrictions, you're notified. From the point that you're notified, you have 30 days to correct that violation. If you don't correct it within 30 days, the general manager has the authority from the board to institute court proceedings against you. In serious, egregious, life-threatening, safety-threatening, property-threatening situations or repeat violations, the general manager today has the authority under the declaration of restrictions to immediately request court action. None of that today applies to short-term rentals. There is nothing in our governing documents that control short-term rentals or enable us to regulate them in any ways. That's why this started out. Second point I want to make very clear, okay, because I've talked with anybody that's emailed the board I've offered to talk to. The regulations regarding occupancy that we have in these proposed guidelines exactly match what is required by the county in their short-term rental regulations. So if you have a county rental license, and there are 140 of them in Ocean Pines, and that says you are authorized to advertise an occupancy of 8 people, that will not change under these guidelines. However, I will tell you that I've been informed and I've talked with folks that there are far more rentals in Ocean Pines than 140 rented on a short-term basis, and they do not have the county license. Okay. And yesterday, it was pointed out to me that there are rental firms in Ocean City that handle short-term rentals that are advertising occupancies and not requiring the county license, that in fact are renting properties in Ocean Pines. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks. That was a great explanation. I appreciate all the details on that. I would just like to reply that, first of all, we are very responsible owners. We use a property manager. We have a county license. We abide by all the regulations. We even block out our house during H2O week, during the motorcycle week, we don't rent to college kids. I think 25 and older. All our neighbors have our property manager's number. We've never had a complaint against us. And I completely understand the frustration of these few homeowners. But I just fear that, strict regulations are going to be put in place that are going to sweep up all the law-abiding, responsible owners with these. And I know that your frustration is that it was hard to deal with these homeowners, but is there a way to, to impose or to enact other regulations that could, deal with these problem homeowners, maybe ones that don't use a property manager, or ones that aren't properly licensed, other things like that, because I just fear that, now we have a county license, then we're going to have a Ocean Pines permit to pay, and then we're going to have to hire a home inspector to come in and do all this stuff. It's just becomes cost prohibitive, time prohibitive, and I'm in fear that it's just going to cause a lot of these short-term homeowners to sell the property, which is not good for overall home values in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Right,
Quinn,
let's-
let me respond to if I can, Larry, to a couple things, because you brought up some things I forgot. First, regarding can we do something else? We've had numerous conversations on this with our attorneys. To the best of our knowledge, under existing state, federal laws, we cannot go another route. It's like we cannot specifically target Airbnb or VRBO or short-term rental. Last year, when this became apparent, I gave the board the two choices that were basically given to us. And that is, go the route that you see in front of you today that we're talking about, or ban short-term rentals entirely in Ocean Pines. And the board, including myself, unanimously said, we don't want to ban short-term rentals because there's a lot of people that do it. It would be unfair. So we went down this path. The second thing, it's important to emphasize, although we can't target specific properties, this is a complaint-driven system. If you have good renters and you've never had a complaint, you're not going to have a problem. And if you do have one problem out of 20 years, it's going to be a small problem, not a big problem. Make no mistake about it. Although we can't do it legally, what I can tell you this whole law is intended is to address the big problems, not the person that has one problem out of 15 or 20 years.
All right, so I see a hand up for Theo.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I also, I'm sorry, 151 Jammer, want to do short-term rental. I see
What's
that
your last name? I'm sorry.
Margus.
Okay.
I saw the list of what the requirements are, and some of them are preposterous. If the community is so worried about the community itself, why don't every home have to have a smoke detector in the bedroom? If you have to have a lid on your trash can, you have to have a thermometer in your refrigerator, because if you want to go like serve safe, that's what you're doing. The meeting town hall needs to be virtual like this meeting so people can see and speak, because having it limited to 50 people, it makes you all look bad. It makes you look like you're trying to sneak something under the table. And that's why you have 100 people here now. Ocean Pines Association, my mother-in-law told me 10 years ago, is very strict. You can't have a clothesline. I looked at some of the bylaws. I don't know if they've been updated, but it says every home has to be 1,800 square feet. My home's not 1,800 square feet. A lot of the homes aren't 1,800 square feet. So like targeting this whole community over Abbyshire household is preposterous. It's important that you guys work with us and we work with you. I don't want to single you out. I don't want to vote you out. I don't want to propose to vote you out. But this has got to be a collective, because this is a big deal. I really insist that you guys make this town hall virtual, or have everybody be able to show up, which right now with COVID, we really should not. So please, I beseech you, this community is beseeching you, make it a public town hall. Thank you.
All right, are there any, I don't see any other hands raised. Are there any other hands?
Yes,
on
my
it?
hand has been raised. My hand has been raised, Larry. It's Esther.
Is this Wendy?
No, this is Esther Diller. My hand has been raised for 15 minutes.
Okay, Esther, go ahead.
Okay, Esther Diller, Nine Widows Watch. 2 points. One, this town hall definitely needs to be virtual. You have 110 people on here today with no problem where people can interact in the issue. I agree with Theo. It doesn't make you look good when we limit a meeting to 50 people, which understandably with COVID we are. But this does need to be a virtual meeting on April 17th. As far as one of the agenda items, I got to tell you, I'm confused. Board self-evaluation. I don't even understand why this is on the agenda for a public board meeting. I don't understand why the board would take up time that they should be addressing to these type of community issues versus personal issues. During my brief time on the board of 10 months, I can tell you, I never remembered us ever needing to do this type of self-evaluation. We were able to debate, disagree, without disintegrating our unit. I don't understand any of this. And not to be a jerk, but stop giving yourself so much self-worth. There are only 4 months left to this board. What do you think you're really going to accomplish? Just stop all the nonsense, work together. You were voted in by the community. Work for the community. You're going to agree. You're going to disagree. It doesn't matter. Just do your job that you're elected to do and leave this personal stuff out of it. Thank you.
Let me make one comment here. We're going to look into whether or not we're able to use the yacht club upstairs to do this town hall, which should have a greater capacity than 50 people. Is there any other comments?
Yeah, I've got my hand raised.
That's Stuart.
And no, somebody else, but I have my hand raised also.
Give me your name and home address or Ocean Pines address.
My name is Colin Zimmerman. I'm the government affairs director for the Coastal Association of Realtors.
Are you a member? Do you live in Ocean Pines?
I do not live in Ocean Pines, no.
Then I'm sorry, you are not able to make public comments. Is there anyone else from Ocean Pines that wishes to make comments?
I do. I've had my hand up for quite a long time.
Who is that?
My name is Lynn Kessler, and I live at 36 Watertown.
Okay.
Thank you. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you very much for deferring the vote on the short-term rentals. It's been disappointing that 3 homes with short-term rental problems are causing hundreds of good homeowners to lose income and curb our property rights. So I'm really hoping in the next few weeks we can find a better solution before the town hall. As a homeowner, I'd like to see the report created from the input of all the people that Mr. Daly listed before the town hall. The stakeholders, attorneys, fire marshal, police chief. How do I request that? Or is this my request good enough to get that?
Frank?
Well, I don't know how we can get to you notes and inputs, some of which was attorney done with our attorneys, which is attorney-client privilege in a comprehensive form.
So there's not a report created from information.
Right. I mean, it's like when we, I guess when we started this thing, it started as a text amendment. And we sat down with the fire marshal, okay? And we went through and he gave us some input and I can tell you the conclusion at the meeting, and I'll tell you why we went with the fire marshal. I think you and I covered this yesterday, but so everybody knows.
Yeah.
The person that held the lease for one of our problem properties made it clear he wasn't going to change his business model unless somebody could evict his tenants. The only person that
I understand. I understand that. I'm just saying, from all of that information that you listed for me, and I appreciated you taking the time to talk with me yesterday. But from all of that information, was it not compiled into some kind of a working group report that people would be able to review? Because it probably should be.
Not really, because as we got to continue to get the input, Lynn, like we started, like I said, with this text amendment idea, And we were told at the end of that meeting, basically, that, to be honest, the legal, the political, and the operational issues to incorporate that as a text amendment were very, very high. So as
Okay,
this
but
proceeded and we talked with other people, this document morphed into the document in front of you today.
I see. But I'm just saying, you know, you said you spoke to stakeholders in the community. That should really be public record. What, it doesn't need to have their names used necessarily, but as a homeowner, I mean, no one spoke to me, and that's fine, but I would like to see what that information is. And I believe that, you know, if we are currently, you know, having, you know, you have a proposal that's going to curb our property rights. And I feel like we should be, you know, we should have access to that information. Certainly, whatever might be a legal issue could be taken out, but I just really feel like we need more information. We should be able to access that information. If there was a working group involved, that should be something official with such a huge endeavor about to be taken. And I'd like to add one more thing to that, just as a general comment, if I may. You know, in the last board meeting, there were a lot of public comments, and I was noticing that in the minutes to the public comments, it just listed the person and their address, but not the comment or any kind of response to that comment. And I was wondering if it would be possible in the minutes that are released that answers, that not just the name of the person be listed, but also their comments and ideally an answer to the questions being posed when there is a question posed. Is that possible?
Well, I think to answer that question, all these meetings are recorded, so all the comments are recorded. So
Sure.
If there is a particular issue that needs to be addressed and answered, we do try to do that right at that time. Or if there is a question that can't be. Wendy B, hand up. Wendy? Wendy, do you need to make a comment? Okay, nothing. How about Lynn H? You had your hand up. Nothing from Lynn H.
No, I'm here. I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lynn.
There we go.
I got dropped there for a minute. So I'm not sure if you said anything else.
Who is this?
This is still Lynn.
Give me your name and address.
Yeah, Lynn Kessler, 36 Watertown. I got dropped. I was finished talking, but I didn't know the answer to my request to get the working group information regarding the short-term rentals.
Okay, so then Stuart, is that Stuart Lackernick?
Yeah, yes, that's me. Stuart Lackernick, 9 Widows Watch Court. I'm going to read a statement from Kathy Toth. She could not be here from 40 Wintergreen. And this is Kathy's statement she asked me to read to you guys. The events of the past few months from the board of directors have been in every newspaper in town, editorials, boards, minutes, and tell all stories about what's transpired and not transpired during closed meetings. Does the board truly understand the damage that has occurred to not only the residents, but the general public, and the thoughts about what the hell is happening in Ocean Pines? Every week, every month, They argue about something or someone. Many people who might want to buy a house at Ocean Pines perceive Ocean Pines as being run by an unprofessional HOA board. Some people have changed their minds about buying a house. Instead of dismissing Mr. Perrone, the board said it would work out its problems, which is an admittance of guilt. Question for the board: how do you propose to take responsibility for your problems and show the residents you are sincerely trying to be a unified board and work through the many issues together in a timely manner? We want our peaceful, friendly, cooperative community of Ocean Pines now. How can you do this? Now that COVID is getting better, have a meet and greet sometime at the park where the community members can see that you're real people who will work and listen to the residents and work these things out. That is the statement Kathy asked me to read. Thank you.
All right, well, let me address one or two things here, Stuart. First off, the fact that the board of directors decided that we would like to implement a self-evaluation process, and I'll let Colette Horn address that later on in the meeting, is not an admission of guilt of anything. And I resent the fact that you would make that implication, or that the person you read that letter from would make that implication. Secondly, the board did plan to have 3 town hall meetings this year, but because of COVID, we could not have those meetings. As you can see, with us scheduling the meeting for April 17th on this short-term rental issue, we would like to get back into having the town hall meetings, which we have done. So I'm going to leave it at that. Is there anyone else who has their hand raised? Wendy B., I see your hand again. You want to make a comment?
Yes, please. My name is Wendy Ballinger-Subasic at 9 Sandpiper Lane.
Excuse me, Larry, I'm sorry to interrupt. That wasn't my statement. That was a statement.
I understand that, Stuart, and we're moving on to the next.
Okay, thank you.
So, hi, everybody. So my family has been a property owner in Ocean Pines since 1968. So 53 years, and renting our beach house for a long weekend, a week or two, is not a new concept. So, I think with social media and the venues such as, Vrbo and Airbnb, it has just allowed more public knowledge to what's, having these renters in there. And I'm struggling with many of the homeowners in Ocean Pines that, if 3% of Ocean Pines homeowners are renting and a handful of those have problems, why these rules are being implemented, that for the most part, everything is going very well. And I'd like to also add that these renters that come in, they contribute a large amount of revenue to our community, to the farmers market, to the yacht club, to the pools, to the local businesses. And I just feel like the good is being, punished by a few bad apples. So I really would like to dive into this more and be a part of this group and committee to talk about the goodness of these renters and not just the bad. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to make public comment?
Yes, I'd like to, if I can.
Who is this?
James Reddy, 7 Gatehouse Trail.
Okay.
So I like to kind of echo what Wendy said. I kind of second that issue. I really believe that, for people trying to follow the laws here, or the law-abiding ones are being punished for stuff that, is only a few houses. And I believe that by implementing these is going to really hamper a lot of rentals and bringing in money into the community. And the other point I like to make is lead time. If there's a rule change such of this nature, to make it effective immediately kind of hurts the season. If we were to implement these rules for this season, I would literally have to cancel every single one of my rentals for the whole season. And it would really adversely affect the income. So, I mean, that's just a little more lead time would be needed for rules of these natures to be implemented. That's all.
Frank, you want to address that a little bit?
Yeah, let me address, because some of this we've talked about on the enforcement side. And it affects both comments that were made, and it somewhat comes back to Lynn's comments. Unfortunately, there is no. Here's the alternative. Here's the alternative to not addressing or not having the regulations. It is simply there's.
Because they're coming out of that side door.
I'm sorry, will you mute your mic, please?
Yeah.
The alternative to not having these regulations is that there is nothing that you can do to help your fellow homeowners that live next to one of these rentals that completely exercise their property rights, but completely abdicate their responsibilities as property owners. There is simply no way to go after them under the existing rules that legally are in effect. And part of that, quite frankly, comes about because there are 22 sections in Ocean Pines. Each one has a different declaration of restrictions. The declaration of restrictions is what governs the behavior and the interaction between the association and the homeowners. And a lot of those declarations of restrictions were written decades before Airbnb and VRBO came on the scene. So there's no legal means of enforcing. And getting back to the question, I think if you're a property owner, and perhaps Larry, we can look at this, is to have our attorneys participate in some way in the town hall, because quite frankly, I understand what you want. You want to not do anything. A lot of you don't want to comply with the county rental short-term regulations. You don't want to be bothered by any additional regulations from Ocean Pines, but you want us to be able to address the problem properties. There is no legal avenue that we are aware of where that can be done. It's that simple and that bad and that unfortunate.
Okay, I saw a hand raised for Jack B, JACB.
It should be a G. Oh, that's because it says Bramblewood. It's Jack Grine of 63 Bramblewood.
Okay.
I have two questions. The stickers that are supposed to be on the door, they're inside, not outside?
That is the latest interpretation, yes. And by
Okay,
the way, the rules never said outside. It
I
said on the
understand that.
door. Okay.
That's why I'm bringing it up, because a lot of people have been concerned it's going to be outside. So I wanted somebody to publicly say that that's not the intent.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And second, I think one of the problems is going to be the immediate loss of rental for 365 days. So when you do your working group, it might be a good idea to put some steps in there, like, maybe you can't rent until you've met the safety and permit thing on the first time, and maybe the second time, it's a month or something, but going straight to 365 days, I can see why that would upset people. And I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I respond to that,
go
Larry, real briefly? Jack, I completely understand what you're saying. And we've been down this path before on a different issue and have a legal opinion. If we don't ask for the permission to revoke a license, the court will never give us the ability to revoke a license. And at the end of the day, any request that we make for revoking a license for any period of time has to be done by us filing a formal complaint to the court, and the court will adjudicate that. So, we could ask conceivably, let me give you the most bizarre circumstance and most egregious circumstance. If somebody had a dog barking, we could ask for the license to be revoked for 365 days. The court would have to agree with that, and they probably wouldn't.
Okay, I see a hand for Edith H. Is that correct?
Hey, yes, it's Edie Hardy, and I live at 1 Seagrave Lane. I just want you guys to understand what my perspective is looking long term at this. If you all get this to go through, right on the heels of COVID-19, when a lot of people lost rental money due to people not traveling, people who have second homes in Ocean Pines are going to end up dumping those houses because they can no longer afford the mortgage payments on them, or God forbid, get foreclosed on. Property values are going to go down, and overall, all of Ocean Pines is going to suffer for this. I understand that there have been rental issues with a few properties, but to take those issues and put it across the board to every rental in Ocean Pines seems a bit much. So I'm hoping that between now and the town hall, you all think about what you're doing to the property values in Ocean Pines by doing something like this, and what the fallout is going to be to the entire development. Thank you.
All right, is there other hands? That Kathy G or Kathy G? That you? No? If you've already made comments, I'm not going to call on you again because we do have a time restriction on comments. So is there
I've got a comment.
anyone else that wants to
Yeah,
make a comment?
I'd like to make a comment.
And who is this?
This is Mike Lombardi, 65 Wood Duck.
Okay.
I actually don't rent my home. I just bought my home in October. But I think to those last comments, I actually think this is really bad for all homeowners, not just those that rent. It does feel like this proposal is trying to eliminate renting in total. I don't understand why one homeowner out of 6,000 people is causing such a disruptive change. I don't get it. There has to be another way to deal with that homeowner, or change the rules to have greater penalties that can be pursued through legal means when one homeowner doesn't comply or gets a lot of complaints. And honestly, you make these changes, that homeowner, for what you described earlier, he's not going to change. He's not going to follow these rules, and he's going to continue to fight it and pay whatever fines and things like that. So I honestly think we're overcorrecting for the sins of a few and penalizing everyone. And the long-term potential and implementing this right away, people are going to have to sell their homes. This is not just there's some additional policies. People can no longer afford to own their homes, and it's going to force a massive sale. So I'm very concerned as a homeowner that doesn't rent what the impact of this is, and the impact of future home buyers in this neighborhood looking at saying, hey, I'm not buying there. Because I bought too, because I said, hey, if I ever get in a situation where I can't afford my house and I need to rent, at least I have that option. And with this and the requirements put in place, I'm very, very concerned. And it's making me question the decision to move into this neighborhood.
Okay, I saw, thank you for your comments. I saw Charles F. Is there Charles F. that wants to make comments? Okay, then I saw a Tracy H.
Is that Tracy J, Tracy Jones?
That might be.
Okay, I live at 11 Ambleside Court, and I've been a property owner for over 20 years. I moved down probably full-time 15 years ago. And during the time I did not live here full-time, I rented my house to quite a few of my friends, which seven of them now are also homeowners, because coming down here and renting from me, they just love the area and love the Pines. So there's 7 people from my renters that moved down here full-time. I have a rental property also that I purchased in hopes that my mother would soon move down here full-time. She stays here all winter because she lives in the Poconos, and it's kind of cold up there for an 87-year-old in the winter. But in the summer, I rent it out just to break even. And I've never had a problem. I go through Caldwell Banker. They manage it for me. And I'm really concerned that the Worcester County license I got last year, I could have 9 people in my home, which I have it actually rented up to only 8 through Caldwell Banker. But the new proposal, it looks like I'd only be able to rent till 4. So I've already got my house booked for the summer. And now it looks like, what am I going to do with all those renters that already booked if it goes to 4 people? That the limit is different from the Worcester County limit. And why would that be? That's all I have to say right now.
Okay. Are there?
Larry, let me address that.
Go ahead, Frank.
Okay, Tracy, if you have a Worcester County rental license, okay, these guidelines have been from the initial format of the guidelines to what's in front of you today and in front of the board today, exactly correspond to the Worcester County guidelines. Okay. And when I say exactly, I'm talking about for occupancy. If your bedrooms comply to the Worcester County code for bedrooms, if they are the right size to have 8 occupants under these guidelines, you will be permitted to have 8 occupants. The only potential difference, and by the way, I only looked at the vacation rentals by owners listings that had 10 or more people in a house. You might require 1 additional garbage can or waste container, and there would be basically no requirements for additional off-street parking because you can stack parked cars in a driveway. So there is simply no difference between what's in these guidelines and the Worcester County guidelines required to get a short-term rental license.
So what my Worcester County says 9, I would bring that to you guys, and well, I only want 8 anyway, and you guys would just keep that 8.
When you go through the process, this is exactly what would happen. That outside home inspector would inspect, find that the bedrooms complied with the Worcester County code, find that their size complied, and you would come back and they would go into CPI and they would look at that information with your application, and they would say you're eligible to have 9 occupants. You may elect to have only 8. Hell, you might only elect to have 6. But the occupancy that we would determine is exactly what the county would determine.
Okay, I have Virginia F. had her hand raised.
Yes, this is Virginia Flynn at 12 Portside Court. I would like to address just a couple of things. First of all, I did send an email. Chuck, cut yours off. I did send an email to all of you, which I hope that you have read. I know that Mr. Daly did. He did allow my husband and I to have a nice long conversation with him about our many issues with this particular policy of guidelines that you are establishing. I won't go into all that right now because I am very glad that there is going to be a town hall, which I do hope you will make virtual for us, as opposed to trying to have it an in-person meeting. However, I do want to address a couple of things just real quick. Back to what Lynn was saying about the information and the notes that Frank and his work group should be taking. Anytime you work on a board of directors and you are representing those of us in the community, it's very important that explicit notes are kept, not only on what you are talking about, to whom and what they have said, and also the number of residents who have come in, called in, emailed, whatever, their name, what they have said, and then use all that, compile all that. So that is public knowledge. That is so important in anything that the board would do in these side committees. Having served on a Maryland association myself as a president, that was always important, particularly if you need to address anyone's concerns, you have the data. And it was the data that I had asked Mr. Daly for when I talked to him and asked him how this all came about with these guidelines. How many properties were a problem? How many times were each of those particular properties an issue? Over how many years did you collect data? And the answer was, well, there were 4, and now, of course, there may be 3. I was shocked. I was shocked that such a huge guideline policy is being developed with so few issues. I know those issues were hard to deal with, and I know that there is a reason for trying to come up with some guidelines, but these guidelines need to be addressed. The next thing is that I just hope that you keep in mind the impact of hundreds of people as opposed to the few properties that are the issue. And you're hearing that today. I look forward to talking with you again at the town hall. Thank you.
All right. I saw hand raised for Kavanaugh B. Is that correct?
Hi, this is August Lindsay.
I'm sorry, I can't. Can you speak up, please?
August Lindsay, 17 Driftwood Lane.
We can't hear you.
August Flengy, 17 Driftwood Lane.
Okay.
Strongly encourage the board to wait until we get through COVID before doing such a substantial change to the policies of Ocean Pines. Thank you.
All right, I saw a hand raised for Diana L. Is there Diana L. who want to make a comment? Okay. Anyone else? I'm not getting any other names, but I see there's other hands raised. It's Amy L.
I'm assuming that's me. I'm Amy K. I'm Amy Konis, and I'm at 29 Beacon Hill.
Okay, go ahead.
I would just kind of, I respect and I appreciate the process that you've gone through to develop this particular proposal. And I think, you know, from everything you're sharing, and I'm still trying to get up to speed. I'm a new homeowner, much like Mike. I already, really not with any particular intention to rent it out of the gate, but I bought it. I felt like it's nice to have that option. And I think, you know, when you developed this proposal, you were listening to people and you were hearing people. And I appreciate this opportunity to hear people on the other side. I came to Ocean Pines as a renter myself for years with my children, fell in love with the Pines, was very committed to wanting to get a place for myself. I worked a second job for 5 years to save money to pay for my down payment on my beach house. You know, and just bought it and just so excited to be there. And really considering, you know, well, this would be great. You know, maybe we could rent it to friends or rent it out. And this is just very, very shocking. And I'm very disappointed that I wouldn't be able to do that if I wanted to as an option. So I appreciate you taking the time to hear from all of us so you can put, you know, names and faces together for the other side of the table, for the people that this would really hurt. So thank you so much for doing the town hall and pushing this vote off a little bit further. I appreciate it.
Okay. Hey, Larry, this is Frank. Let me respond to that real quick, Amy, okay? And plus make a comment to some others. Amy, this proposal will not keep you from renting your house, period. You can rent your house short-term, intermediate term, long-term, and Worcester County has licenses for all of them. And this only affects short-term 28 days or less rentals. But don't think for a minute that this is going to prevent you from renting your house. It just puts in what we consider to be reasonable regulations, and what council has told us is reasonable regulations. There's a second point here that I'd like to make, Larry, and I think we can address this by the town hall, and maybe some of the folks aren't aware of it. There is a section in Ocean Pines that completely bans short-term rentals less than 6 months. It's called the park. The park also charges an extra $300 a month above and beyond the Ocean Pines assessment to live there. We can certainly try to get data that shows home resale value, because I'll tell you the information I've been told, but I certainly haven't researched, is the park is doing at least as good, if not considerably better, for resale values and being able to sell their homes than the rest of the sections in Ocean Pines. And that's something that we can ask. I know that Colin Zimmerman was on here and couldn't speak, but we can ask that information from our realtors. And I think we should be able to get it, which clearly shows the appreciation and the days of market on sale for an area that bans rentals completely versus the rest of Ocean Pines.
Yeah, but Frank, we're changing the rules in the middle of the game, right? Did the park change them after years, 20, 30 years of allowing it? Like that's so I don't know that that's apples and apples. It's more oranges.
No, the first the park is not allowed it to my knowledge. I don't live there from day one. But changing in the middle of the road, Colin. I mean, I used to live in Columbia, which has an aggressive form of homeowners association where they inspect each property every year for complete compliance to their declaration of restrictions. And you can certainly change the rules as time changes, as time goes on. And that's the only thing we're doing. We're addressing a situation in VRBO and Airbnb that simply didn't exist when most of Ocean Pines was developed.
Right. I get that. It's such a change that the downstream impact is so massive to many homeowners. And it's all for the crazy thing is this is all for 4 homeowners out of thousands. So there's got to be a better way to go address those 4 homeowners and make regulations, legal, terms, stiffer penalties to address the real problem. This is like using a chainsaw to remove a splinter. Like we got to go after those 4, fix those, and let the rest of the community operate as they have without any issue.
If there is a legal way to do that, we're all ears. But so far, nobody has come up with a way beside do nothing. And I would also emphasize this. If everybody that rents their home in Ocean Pines gets a county rental license, and that rule has been in effect now for 2 years, then the regulation is there to do it. And then we could, as a community, approach the county for better enforcement. We're not putting any more rules into effect than what currently exists.
Okay. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, we are going to have this town hall meeting. So, I mean, I don't want to discourage anyone from speaking today, but if the comments have been made already.
Can I say one more thing? I did make a comment, but I just want to ask one more thing just based on all the comments. Is that okay?
Is this, who's this again?
Martin Quinn.
Goes till 12 o'clock.
Does it?
Okay.
My 2 comments are, one, it sounds like when the board is talking about these rules, they're talking like they're already, like the decision's already been made. These rules are being put in place. They're not talking about proposed rules. So it sounds like regardless of what the homeowners are talking about here on this call, and all I've heard is concerns about this rule. And I haven't heard anyone speak for it. So it sounds like most people are against it, but it sounds like from what I'm hearing, it's a done deal. Like these rules are for this purpose. And can't we just have a rule that says you have to have a county permit? If you don't have a county permit, we'll report you to the county. Well, we're acting like it, like the previous speaker said with the chainsaw and a splinter. This is a torture approach,
Let me address your issue. This is not a done deal. These are the proposed regulations that the board has to vote on. So your assumption that this is a done deal is incorrect. The motion to approve these short-term rental guidelines has not been discussed openly by the board, and it's not going to be done today. We're going to do it at our next board meeting. So the comment that this is done is not true. And if it was done, we wouldn't be wasting our time doing a town hall meeting. And in addition to that, you are correct that no one has stepped forward and made positive comments about these regulations, but I can tell you, and the other board members will confirm, that we have received several letters advising us that they want to see these guidelines go in place. Now, I would assume that the individuals involved are the individuals who have properties where they've had issues. And I can tell you that it was not just assigned to the homes around Abbyshire. We had homeowners on Seafair. We've had homeowners on Teal Circle, all writing to us saying, please approve these. So again, I just wanted to address that. And so again, as I was getting ready to say, I don't want to discourage people from making comments, but if the comments that you are interested in making have already been made, we would like you to hold off until the town hall meeting unless you absolutely feel you need to make comments today. So I have an Ed whose hand was up.
Hi, it's Ed Brady, 3 Clipper Court. Number one is, when is the planned vote for these changes that are proposed here?
It will be at our next meeting, which is April 21st.
And who's involved in the community on the board that actually is a landlord, not just an owner occupant that's living in the property? Do we have a count on that as far as the board of directors that are making these proposals?
Well, I can tell you that Tom Janisak, a director, rents a property. I have rented property in the past. Colette Horn has also rented property in the past. And I'm not sure if any other directors have rented property in the past.
My biggest question
I have.
is, why is law enforcement not more involved in the violations that short-term, long-term tenants are making against either neighboring properties or sound? There are sound regulations within the county and within the community. I'm not sure exactly what the opposition is to this, but the rules regarding occupancy that are proposed here say that notwithstanding what any other rule is, you're only allowed, I think it's 5 occupants for 1,500 square feet of a property, which someone brought up is far below a lot of the properties that exist in Ocean Pines, or far above, I should say, in the community. But I'm just wondering, are these rules going to be an overlay to the county rules that are in place for short-term rentals?
Frank, you want to go ahead with that?
Yeah. Ed, again, if these regulations that determine occupancy are exactly what the county requires for short-term rentals, okay, they were cut from the county code and pasted into this document. So I would like somebody to show me a specific case where there's a variance between. Now, I know how it originally happened, but I know how we corrected it also by saying that the bedrooms determine the occupancy. Okay.
Yes.
So that has been taken care of. The answer to your other question is pretty simple. Our police force cannot enforce our declaration of restrictions. As a homeowners association, the only way that we have to enforce regulations regarding rentals is through the declaration of restrictions.
And before you go, Ed, I just wanted to tell you, I'm one of your neighbors. I'm at 19 Clipper Court, and
yes.
And I can tell you there are no complaints or problems with your property, and I can tell you all the neighbors in the community do appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. My wife and I both appreciate that. It's a great community. I just feel that when I was reading this, particularly on page 3 of 5 of the proposal regarding occupants, most families would not even be able to come in short-term rent based on those numbers there, from 1,200 to 1,750 square feet. And we're exceptional as far as parking, but as far as occupants, it would be a real problem.
Yeah. Okay, I saw a hand raised for James S. Okay, and then I saw a hand raised for Len S.
Did you mute yourself? Thanks, Larry. My name is Len Smith. I live at 536 Yacht Club Drive, and I just wanted to follow up on my comment from a prior meeting. I'm still looking for each board member to clarify their role in and their personal assessment of that role in the recent series of personnel actions and how they're going to clarify and improve their role in future personnel actions. So that'll be a factor in my decision in future board elections. Haven't seen any action on that request since the prior meeting, but I'm hoping that perhaps the self-assessment will be a step in that direction, and I'll be watching from now until the election. Thank you all.
Okay, are there any other comments, public comments?
Yeah, this is Bronx Brazil, 104 Tail the Fox Drive. I think that it sounds like the board has undertaken a pretty fair and thorough review of the potential short-term rules. The fact that they're completely consistent with the county's rules is encouraging. And the fact that there isn't really any affirmative way to control short-term rentals without making these changes, I think makes infinite sense. I mean, there's been an awful lot of talk during the course of this call about how, oh, it's 3 or 4 properties, but the fact of the matter is that those homeowners that live near rental properties have experienced, there have been far more than 3 or 4 that have experienced the difficulty associated with having short-term rentals and having people come in and make noise and create garbage and parking issues. So I think that it is a fair and reasonable thing to put into effect short-term rentals. And since we've been inundated with people making the counter proposal or the counterpoint, I wanted to at least voice the fact that I think it's good, and I think that the time and effort and thoughtfulness that went into the recommendation that the board has made is appreciated by me and other homeowners that have the misfortune of being near rental properties that aren't as where the owners aren't as attentive to maintaining a sense of order with the folks that they rent to.
Okay. All right. Are there any other public comments?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment, please.
And who is this?
This is Lisa Ramersa at 41 Watertown Road. How are you?
Good.
Good. I would just like to make an overall comment. I've been living here since 2016, since it'll be 5 years in May. The way our HOA, obviously everybody knows, is constructed, 60% of our income is brought in from the outside public. And I don't have a rental property myself here, but what is the future thinking and planning? Like I've listened to all the comments, and people have suffered major impact with their salaries or what have you. And this is a supplement to people in whatever way or shape or form. Financially in the future for the amenities, how are we going to self-sustain? We don't know in the future. We took one PPP loan. We're not able to take the next because we're, not under that 25% loss of revenue now, which is thankful. But going forward, long-term, has any of the board members thought, how is this going to affect overall with the amenities in the future? That it's just, and another thing is, it just seems of listening to, with a virtual meeting would be much better than a town hall meeting, because I feel all members deserve the right to hear what's going to happen on April 17th. Those are my 2 comments.
Well, let me address your question regarding the amenities.
Yeah.
During the budget process, that's exactly what the discussions that the board gets into,
right,
as well as the Budget and Finance Committee with the general manager. And the questions you raised are valid questions. You should understand that the way the association is set up, we look to we're not necessarily looking to make any kind of a profit. That's not what the objective in our bylaws or declarations are, we are an organization that tries to break even. So when we look at what happens with amenities, we don't judge just one amenity at a time. We look at the total operational positive or negative for the amenities overall, and that's really what we look at. However, for example, last year and this year, the two biggest areas that took an impact from COVID, first off, was the beach parking, which is which on a year-to-year basis is makes a lot of money for Ocean Pines. And then the other area is aquatics. Now, aquatics, we were projecting aquatics to lose about $380,000 this year. And with a COVID adjustment for next year, it could be about the same. However, we're not looking, it's not that aquatics, anybody did anything wrong. They're just having a huge impact from the COVID environment. So one of the questions the board raised during the budget process, particularly in regard to aquatics, was, is there anything else that the general manager and the aquatics team could do to help reduce that projected loss? And I can tell you that they have worked on several things, we'll see how it goes. But we are trying to sort out the amenities to get a clear understanding of whether an amenity is making a profit or how much of a loss it is making, and address each one individually in an attempt to bring them up to a break-even point. And I can tell you that, over the last few years, we've heard all the comments about golf being a dying sport. We're losing so much money. Well, the reality of it is, if you looked at General Manager Viola's financial report that he gave today, as of the end of February, our golf operations is only down a little over $9,000. That's a tremendous result, considering that golf operations lost 2 months of revenue this year. So that's a big positive for the general manager, as well as John Malinowski and the golf maintenance team that is doing everything they can to make our golf course and the golf operations, as well as the food and beverage operation at the country club, a top-notch place to go. So the board does look at the financial results, and we do try to address it in that way. But we are not, again, a lot of people don't understand that we look at the overall results of all the amenities together to see whether or not whether one amenity helps to offset one group or another. Coletta, do you have your hand?
Larry, I want to.
I just wanted to ask, when you just a quick thing when you say we're not in to make profit, but we're here to sustain our HOA overall. So I wasn't talking about making profit, pocketing in your pocket. I was just asking, with the rentals, that does bring in a lot for us to sustain and maintain, because we're only with our HOA 40% towards the association. That's all I was saying.
I'm not sure your percentage is correct.
Larry, can I speak to that?
That's what percentages are put out from the GM.
Larry, I just received from John Viola the comment that 60% of our revenues are from non-assessment sources. So that would include fees, memberships in the amenities, revenues from our various amenities activities. So
that the speaker, Lisa, is right, that 60% is from non-assessment, but that doesn't mean that that 60% comes from sources outside of Ocean Pines. Certainly some of it does.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's the issue I was addressing. I don't think that 60% number of the money coming from outside is correct. All right, is there anyone else that has public comments?
I have my hand up. Are you recognizing hands up, or are we just chiming in?
Well, who is this, Salvatore?
Yes, sir.
Okay, give me your name and your address.
5 Granby Lane.
And what's your
My name's
last name?
Sal Giordano.
Okay.
Good morning to everybody, by the way. I just had a couple of points and maybe a question. The first point that I wanted to make, for public record, is that the short-term rental guidelines are mirroring Worcester County's rental guidelines, but they are not mirroring the guidelines and enforcement in all areas. One particular area that I find is kind of unusual is, and maybe part of this is to ask you to clarify the guidelines, the point where renters, owner renters, if they are found to be, if there are any infractions, are to lose their ability to rent and not be able to reapply for 365 days. I don't believe that mirrors Worcester County's infraction policy. I'm wondering if you could clarify that. Secondly, which could really, not only detrimentally affect the homeowner financially for a very long period of time. Again, I think it's, to quote the Constitution, cruel and unusual punishment for any infraction. So I'd like if you could clarify that. Number two, I am appreciative that the directors have mirrored Worcester County's rental policies, though I would also like to note for public record that it is redundant, and it is adding an additional hoop. It is adding additional fees. It is adding additional restrictions to individuals that are living in Ocean Pines and are already expected to abide by the county and state regulations. So I just want to make that point. The last thing that I would ask is, if it is a possibility, I do not know the ins and outs of the workings of the HOA by heart, but if, as we have discussed and as we've seen, these guidelines are going to have an incredible effect on many people in the community, would it be possible to set this to a referendum so that the people that live in the community can actually vote and have a say on what is going to happen to them and affect them? And if the vote shows that the guidelines are respected and should be implemented, then it should go through. And if it does not, then it should not go through, especially since it affects so many people. So that's what I had to say. And I appreciate your time, and I appreciate giving me the time to speak.
Salvatore, thank you for your comments. I'm taking over for Larry. Oh, here he is. He's back. Okay. So the comment, Larry, was whether this could be put to a referendum. And I would say that our governing documents do allow for a referendum to take place at the upon a valid petition by the membership. And so that's certainly one avenue for this. At this point, the board is intending to have the town hall meeting, consider the comments today that have been made, consider the comments that will be made in the town hall meeting, and to take a vote on this motion at our April, I think, 17th meeting.
21st.
21st, sorry.
Okay, Larry, can I comment to Salvador because you brought up a couple of points that I think deserve. First, Salvador, again, when you talk about additional restrictions, if people currently running their homes inside Ocean Pines are following the county guidelines and have the county license, there are no additional restrictions. Okay. Second, okay, regarding enforcement, and this is the problem, I guess, with being an HOA versus being the county. The county short-term rental guidelines, if you are not don't have a license and you have a license and you're not following them, it's a complaint-driven system, as ours will be. And if the county comes to your house and finds out that you're not following the guidelines, they write you a citation for a fine of, I believe it's $100 to start off with, and then it can escalate upwards. Okay, so they can write a ticket. As a homeowners association, we do not have that power to do that. The only way that we can enforce our declaration of restrictions is to go to court and request the court to order you as a homeowner to do a specific action. Now, and that's when you talk about cruel and unusual punishment, okay? We're not going to go and ask somebody to have their rental license renewed if they have one complaint a year, and that complaint is because somebody's doing something. Unless it's very egregious, like trying to burn down the neighbor's house. But if we don't put that in there,
in regard to that, I don't think that that's the way it's worded in the guidelines, though.
No, the guidelines are worded because if we don't ask specifically for permission to revoke the license, the court will never give us the ability to revoke a license. So what we ask for in the complaint that we have to file with the court is what we're asking the court to consider. That is the extreme. The reason that we're asking for the extreme is if we don't put it in there, they'll never grant it. And the court adjudicates and determines what finally happens. And I'll use the county as an example. I am pretty sure that I'm not misstating a fact when I say that the property at Abbyshire had a lot more citations than $500. The court only gave the county $500. So what you ask for and what the court determines is fair sometimes differs. As a matter of fact, a lot of times differs. And what we're dealing with here is the fact that we have to go to court rather than write a ticket. Now, I will also tell you, if you are not aware, in the past, we've broached the topic of having fines for violations, and the community is opposed to it. So again, I guess I'd sum up the discussion as this way. At one extreme, we have people in this community that want to ban short-term rentals altogether. That was put before the board. The board said, we do not want to do that. At the other extreme, you have people that say, do nothing. If you live next to a problem rental property, suffer with it because we don't want any additional regulations. We're not going to walk away from our responsibility. What we tried to draft is something that's in the middle. If somebody has a different idea, now would be a great time to come up with it, because all the people that I mentioned before, the fire marshal, the police chiefs, the fire chiefs, the county officials, and our attorneys have not been able to come up with one. So not only would it be welcome, it would be refreshing if somebody has a different approach.
Okay, are there any other public comments?
Yes.
And who is this?
My name is Daria Ulick. My address is 11 Grandport, and I'm both a homeowner and a property manager.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that we are already bound by the county licensing requirements. So the issue really is the ways in which the Ocean Pines regulations might be more restrictive. So before the town hall, would it be possible for you to issue a communication explaining precisely how the Ocean Pines proposal differs from the county licensing requirements already in place, so that everyone's clear about what the proposal actually would change? I think one source of confusion right now is over the table in the short-term rental proposal, documents showing the total square footage-based occupancy requirements. Now, there is a clarification below that saying that if there's a conflict between the total square footage standard and the number of bedrooms standard. The number of bedrooms take precedence, but that clarification clearly has not filtered through. I just think that there's an awful lot of confusion about what is and what is not on the table. So if it would be possible to summarize that, be very specific about what how the county standards differ from the Ocean Pines restrictions. And so we know what we're talking about, because I think we're on a bunch of different pages right now. Thank you.
Frank, you think you can go ahead and do that before the town hall meeting? Frank?
Sorry, Larry, my mic was off. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea, and we can certainly do that. And the other thing, Larry, that I'm going to suggest, because again, who knows? I mean, there may be a better idea. I'm going to ask you and the rest of the board to consider. I think we should have our attorneys there, because when somebody says we should do something else, if they don't have an idea that's different, we should our attorneys should be able to explain why we came up with the course that we did, because this was guided by council, not by the board. And it would be very simple. Again, I'll give you the choices. Walk away from the problem and ignore it, completely shut down short-term rentals, or do something in the middle. And the options that we should all be looking at are what we could do in the middle, because nobody wants to shut down rentals completely.
Yeah, I agree with you, Frank, and I think that's a good suggestion. I also think that maybe it's time to get some representation from the county to attend this town hall meeting too, so that they can give their perspective on it, and we can talk about that after the meeting.
I think that's wonderful.
Are there any other public comments at this point?
Yes, I'd like to make one, please.
Yeah, who is this?
Hi, my name is Dan Epstein. I'm a homeowner on Battersea, 19 Battersea. And I think we have to do something, and I appreciate the board looking into the possibilities of something in the middle. I just find the permit requirements and the payment for a special Ocean Pines permit a bit onerous, since most of the people who are rental property owners already have this requirement from the county. So I would say if we could do it without charging people and requiring inspections, etc., it would be a better way to go. And then I would also suggest, have we explored the possibility that Ocean Pines police can enforce county regulations with respect to, disorderly properties or renters who are causing problems?
Yeah, we've addressed that issue a couple times already today, and our police force does not have that ability, because we are not a municipality, we are a homeowners association. So, but your idea of whether or not we want to do this without charging a fee certainly is something that can be considered. Are there any other public comments?
Yeah, this is Rick.
Okay, your full name and address?
Yes, this is Rick Farr, and I'm on 21 Bird Nest. I've owned my property here since 1999, and it was I was down here on a part-time basis, but I always kept my my home and my property very well kept up. One of the things that, and now I'm down here full-time, while I still work full-time, since 2019. One of the things that I have noticed during my time, even coming down here full-time, is some of the properties, whether they're full-time residents or renters, and I'm not sure, is the deterioration of some of the properties that are here, and the deterioration of junk being collected in front of the homes. I take my dog on a walk on a daily basis, and I see rims and tires in front of a house, old bicycles that are rusted. Is there an avenue, or while we are to look at these properties and to highlight them, that they need to have them fixed up, to keep our neighborhood in a beautiful and pristine condition that it should be? And what are we doing for that currently? Because I do see over the times, even since I I bought my property in 1999, that there has been some deterioration of some of these properties. And what are we doing to address that issue of and continuing the beautification of the pines?
John, John, you want to address that? John, are you there?
I am, Larry. I'm sorry. I was just doing something. Ted, could you just summarize that question? I'll answer it. I heard beautification.
Yeah, well, no, he wants, the resident wants to know about what can we do about properties that may have, basically junk in the front yards or the houses are deteriorating. So it sounds like a CPI issue.
Well, yeah, I was just going to, so obviously that's a CPI process. There is a process in place. If you do have somebody or there is something, you report it to CPI, and I gave the numbers today with the customer service. They'll log it in. They'll send out the inspectors to look at it, and then obviously if it's something we can do, we will. Or if we have to go through a process that I update on each month, we will. If I have to go to the board, we will to get it addressed.
And for your information, as we move through the meeting here, we have 3 properties that we are have listed on the agenda that are the board has to vote on whether or not they're going to be cited for violations. Are there any other public comments?
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, who's there? Is that Natalie D? I'm sorry, Natalie, is that you? Or is that Nate?
Larry, this is Nate. I can speak.
Yeah, give us your full name and address.
Yes, good morning. This is Nate Dowdy, 67 Bird Nest.
Nate, we can barely hear you.
Can you hear me better, Larry?
Still pretty low, Nate.
I'll try to speak as loud as I can.
All right.
So short-term rentals have always been part of the landscape of Ocean Pines for its entire history. And if I have my numbers correct, approximately 40% of the 8,500 homes in Ocean Pines are still part-time residents. And my guess is that the count for short-term rentals that you're operating off of is much, much lower than what is actually the practice. You know, those of us that have a second home in Ocean Pines, when we use rental income, we're not, with rare exception, we're not using it to make a profit. We're using it to make the numbers work, you know, to realize a dream. Our first experience with Ocean Pines was in the mid 80s when our family rented a house outside or just inside the North Gate. And, you know, it took 20 years, but 20 years later, we were finally homeowners of our own. And the prior comments about people getting exposure to Ocean Pines through the rental process is entirely correct. Also, the other comment about the income that these rental properties produce for Ocean Pines. You know, we 20 years ago went to the golf course, we went to the sports court pool, went to the beach club. That still happens today, and you have not done an economic impact analysis of what this could do. The other thing I will say is we are now postponing this to April 21st. Are you of the idea that these new restrictions would be effective immediately for 2021 is absurd. It's absurd. That's the other thing that's absurd is we still haven't heard what the permit fee will be. It has not been disclosed. And I take exception, Mr. Daly. I still think there are not parallel guidelines with the occupancy restrictions with Worcester County compared to Ocean Pines. You need to look at that again. I understand there are problems that have been created by a few, and I understand the board's wanting to address that. I wouldn't want to be next to one of those properties. But don't kill the golden goose. You need to take more time. This cannot be implemented for 2021. Way, way too late in the game for that. That's my comments. Thank you very much.
All right, are there any other public comments? I see lots of hands.
I have something to say.
Yeah.
And who is this?
This is Donna Jones at 125 Windjammer.
Okay.
I agree with him in terms of this being implemented too quickly. I can see it's a lot of changes that are being proposed, and for those who have renters already for this year, it would be a big inconvenience and a problem for us to implement those changes for the people that have already rented out so far. And I also have a request for Frank Daly to the information that he's going to send out to us in terms of comparing the difference between the township, not the township, the county and the community. Make sure that you send that information out, those differences or those comparisons out in enough time for us to review it, because this information that was presented here yesterday that we received in the email did not give us enough time to go through everything. And that's all I have to say.
All right. Is there any other public comments?
Yes, I have one. I actually have several. This is Robin Spade from 13 Breezeway Lane.
Okay.
Okay, I do not rent my property. Been there 2 years. And I will say I agree with everyone saying this cannot be implemented in 2021, mainly because we don't know what the economic forecast is going to be. There are those of us that intend to retire down there in several years. Should we lose our jobs at this point, we would depend on some type of rental. So I really don't think the board has thought this through from all phases. The other thing I'd like to address is the statement about the park maintaining their value. The park is a little different than the rest of Ocean Pines, as we all know. They have their own amenities. So I would hope that they would maintain their value, because a lot is offered at the park. So I don't think that is apples to oranges. I really believe that this could also open up another problem. You're going to basically depend on neighbors to report other neighbors, and they have every right if there's a problem. However, how is it going to be handled if you have a neighbor? And I'm not saying I do, I have wonderful neighbors. What if there is a neighbor that doesn't like another neighbor, continues to make complaints, knowing that this is a rental property? How's that going to be handled? You are pitting neighbor against neighbor for the sake of 4 homes that have caused problems. So this is an entirely different viewpoint. And I'd like to know, if this was enforced right now and a neighbor reported somebody, what would Ocean Pines do? Would they go to the house? How's this going to be handled? And safely for everyone concerned.
Okay. Any other public comments?
I didn't get an answer.
Well, you know,
Here, Larry, let me take a shot at the answer.
Okay, go ahead, Frank.
Okay. First, you talk about pitting neighbor against neighbor. That is exactly how the Ocean Pines Declaration of Restrictions have been enforced since literally the beginning of the community. The current Declaration of Restrictions are a complaint-driven system. The county system is a complaint-driven system. The new system.
Whoever has their mic on, please turn it off.
The new system will be a complaint-driven system. So let's talk about how a complaint comes right now for somebody that has a property that's deteriorated and the porch is collapsing. Okay. Typically, the neighbors report that to CPI. CPI comes out and looks at it. They typically don't even enter the property. They go onto the neighbor's property. They confirm that porch is collapsing. They write a violation of the declaration of restrictions. They get that confirmed through the architectural review committee, and they send that to the owner. So there's absolutely no difference there in terms of doing that. The way that the problem properties, these 4 problem properties, come to our attention, the 3 or 4, is typically, I mean, things that have happened that I can tell you. Okay. At one time, somebody detonated fireworks in another person's driveway, like past midnight, and the people called the police. It would be the same thing. There's no attempt here to turn neighbors against neighbors. It is how the declaration of restrictions. Now, if the community earlier, somebody talked about a referendum. If the community wanted to go to an aggressive way of enforcing declaration of restrictions, like the Columbia Association does, we could certainly do that. But there's no appetite in the community that I'm aware of, or I believe any other board member is aware of, to do that. I mean, there's not a cry to have inspectors walk around each year to inspect your house to make sure that it is in compliance with the declaration of restrictions. That certainly could be done under our current system. It would just cost about $7 to $8 on the annual assessment for every inspector that we added, and we'd have to add more inspectors.
Now, I have another question. If you're depending on neighbors basically to report other neighbors, and again, I agree, if there's an issue, a neighbor has a right to report. Suppose they think the home is being rented and it's not. Maybe it's relatives in there. What's going to happen if there's a report made? Is someone from Ocean Pines going to go to the house? How is this going to be handled? This is my concern.
Well, you know, Robin, I think now this is John Viola to answer because he handles the operations. But I can say from a board standpoint, if somebody calls and says, I think the house next door is being rented, that's not a basis for a complaint. That I don't know why we would respond to that. And I am like 100% sure and confident I can tell you that isn't the kind of complaints that we get from these properties. I mean, the kind of complaints that we get from these properties are extremely egregious, obnoxious, lewd, irresponsible behavior that typically starts with somebody either calling the police department or stopping by the police station to complain. I don't believe that we have ever had a complaint on a property for rentals where somebody said, I think the house next door is being rented on a short-term basis and doesn't have a license.
Right. And right now that doesn't occur. But in the future, what's going to happen if this does occur?
Well, it's like a regular CPI violations. If there's a problem that somebody wants to complain about, that they can document the CPI would look at it. But I don't think, and I'll let John answer because he handles the enforcement side. I don't think that somebody saying, I think the property next door is a rental property, check it out, is the basis for a valid complaint.
Okay, but if there's family members in there and someone thinks they're a little too loud, how's that going to go?
Well, if that's the case, if it's reported to the police department for a noise complaint, the police would go and investigate that. But I think we're starting to split hairs here a little bit. I understand what you're saying. The idea is that, no one is looking to turn neighbor against neighbor, but you have to understand too that if there is a problem property, the only way the association or the police or the architectural review committee or the CPI inspectors are going to know is if someone lets the community know one way or the administration know one way or the other.
Exactly. And I agree with that. I agree that there has to be watchdogs, but we also have to keep the watchdogs at bay too.
Well,
I mean, we can't have what's going to happen with frivolous complaints. That should be addressed as well.
Yeah, that and our inspectors and the police department have enough experience that they can sort out a complaint that is frivolous from one that is valid.
Okay, and again, will there ever be an instance where if someone makes a complaint that there's, say, 12 people in a house and it's supposedly a rental home, how is that going to be determined? Is somebody from Ocean Pines going to be tasked with knocking on that door, or it's just going to be the statement from the person that made the complaint? I'm just trying to figure out how this is going to go down.
Frank?
Well, let me tell you what we've met with the police numerous times and with the watch commanders numerous times. This is typically what happens, okay? And I'm going to give you the 99.99% from the police department. They get a complaint of too much noise. So they go and they investigate or disruptive noise late at night. They go and they to the house where the disruptive noise is coming from. What they say is it's typically a matter of the people that are making the noise are out back eating crabs, having a beer because they're on vacation. The people next door have to go to work the next morning and the noise is keeping them awake. So they typically say to the people making the noise, hey guys and gals, can you keep it down because the people next door have to go to work and they're trying to sleep. And the problem is solved right there. Now, that's the 99.99%. The 0.01% is where the person comes up to it and says, we're well within the county noise ordinances. We know that you can't measure noise anyway, and that wouldn't, the noise that's keeping them awake wouldn't be a violation, and you can't do anything. So go away and let us have our party. Now, in that case, the police would probably ask and have ways of finding out, oh, do you live here? Or do you usually have problems with your neighbors? Or no, we're renting. Okay. That would probably go to the GM, who would then go to CPI. And then the first thing that we would look at is, does that residence have a county rental license and an Ocean Pines rental license? If the answer was no, okay, my guess is, based on the conversations I've had with CPI and the general manager, that they would get a letter from the CPI department that says, you do not have an Ocean Pines rental license. You need to get one within 30 days.
Okay, so if the county requires the license, then why do we need Ocean Pines to put everyone through this? And again, I'm not a landlord.
No, I completely understand.
We need Ocean Pines to do this. I'm just trying to understand, why is this a double reach? Is it to
here's
money for Ocean Pines? I mean, really?
No, the understanding and the reason for this is this. In our experience with the county legislation, and we have taken somebody to the mat, or the county has taken somebody to the mat for egregious violations, it has been ineffective.
Explain it.
Okay.
Why? Four fucking people.
So it's ineffective. So what our attorneys have told us, and the attorneys have guided this process, is by going through our guidelines with a declaration of restrictions, that we have the ability as homeowners to ask for restraining orders, which would be faster acting and more effective than what the county currently has.
Well, okay. Again, I think I think there's been a lot of comments made today, and again, I don't want to shut anybody down, but as I've mentioned several times, we're going to have a town hall meeting. This board meeting has already gone almost 2.5 hours, and I would ask that if you have comments regarding the short-term rental, that you save them from, for the town hall meeting. This meeting is starting to, it's becoming a town hall meeting, and that's not, this is not the best venue for that. So I would ask that if anyone else has any comments on the short-term rentals, that you hold them till we do the town hall meeting on the 17th of April. So are there any other public comments that are not related to the short-term rentals? All right, seeing none, then I'm going to close the floor to public comments, and we'll move on to capital purchase requests. Before I do that, I want to make sure everybody understands the board does appreciate the comments and the involvement that the community has shown today on this issue. And again, we look forward to the town hall meeting. You've given the board a lot of things to consider today, and we'll look at some of these issues before we get to the town hall. So thank you.
Thank you.
John, you want to go capital purchase request?
Sure, Larry.
Okay.
Okay, so this one, actually, it's a little less than capital. These are more maintenance, but let's see what the first one I have here. Okay, we have bid request approvals, which are over $15,000. The first one we'll look at is Public Works Racquet Sports Court Crack Repair. I did come to the board before. I did get approval to go forward with this. We did receive the bids. It's all in the package. But I'm requesting authorization to go forward with the staff recommendation for $35,738.83 for Terra Firma, the contractor, to repair the cracks in everything that's needed down at the Racquet Sports Courts. We did receive multiple contractors, were contacted, only 2 responded. Terra Firma, the staff recommended, and I definitely recommend the contractor do it. Several others were contacted, but they did not bid. And you have all the paperwork.
Frank or John, did we already approve a motion to get this done?
Yes. Yes, I'm just bringing the 3 bids forward. I want to make sure I touch all bases.
Okay. So we don't need to do another motion today to approve it. Did we?
It's up to you.
Remember.
I don't think you do. I don't think you do. I'm just trying to be transparent and
okay.
Basis. Okay, so we're going forward with that. We already contacted. We want to get it done before the Memorial Day. Thank you. Next one.
This is the okay.
Yeah, the DMA study. It's the same thing, but let me just go through this because this is good stuff. So we did in the past to do a DMA study. I think it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was the first year JB was there. I was BNF chair. We did a DMA study. We put everything together. We did back then, and I did from the BNF perspective, said we'll relook at this in 2 or 3 years, which we're doing now with all the construction that we did and the changes. We believe, and the team believes, this is the time to do it. So I'm requesting authorization. And what happened was, Larry and board, the amount came in a little higher than what I anticipated. I thought it was going to be under 15,000, but it went a little over. But we also expanded more than what I thought back then that we should do. So requesting authorization to go forward. Staff recommendation, $16,590 for the DMA study, the second part. They have the proprietary software. We've already used them before. We went through a process with them years ago. It just makes sense to go forward with them. So requesting that, $16,590.
Mike, is there a motion to approve the spend for the DMA reserve study, the level 2 study, for $16,590, and in addition to sign the contract with DMA for their services?
Yeah, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, one question. John, did they give you any time frame as to when they'd be able to start?
Yes. Let me just hold on. I was hoping to get them in April. Doug, I believe it's May. It's a May. I'm trying to get them in April, but it's going to be more towards the end. They can't guarantee completing it until somewhere in the beginning of May.
Yeah, and is that completing the study or starting the study?
No. When I say May, and I know I have May or June there, from the last discussions, we believe it would be in May.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the CPI violations. Can I have a motion to find 4 Raft Road? Or John, you want to address, I'm sorry, go ahead and address the issue with the.
Yeah, so thanks, Last. So yeah, so I put all the bullet points there so that everybody can see the process. So we have the 4 situations. It's all roof maintenance. There were pictures. I believe I've come forward with these before. I just want to point one thing out before I even start. You know, I spoke to CPI, I spoke to Linda, Eddie the other day. You know, we did get a lot of these roof maintenances. They have come to us. Linda has received these from the ARC committee, and we're following up on. So as discussed at the January 2021 board meeting, violations can be handled by a contractor with a 2/3 vote by the board. MO1, contractor hired as complete maintenance violation Ocean Pines before contractor is fully licensed and insured. We have papers on that. I've double checked that with the team. Contractor will spray fungicide to kill the moss mildew on the roof. He will recheck the roof after spraying the fungicide to see if it is working. If need be, spray again. Again, just putting answers down to prior questions I received from the board. Owner will be billed for contractor's fee and a $75 administrative fee. And those are the 4 locations.
John, on your slide there, you have 18 and 19 King Richard, but there's only 19 King Richard here. Is that?
Yeah, 18. Apologies on that, and we just the 18 should come off.
Okay.
Apologies.
All right. So is the issue on all 3 homes the same?
On the 3 homes, 1, 2, 3, yes.
All right. So can I have a motion to find?
I got a question.
All right, who is that?
It's Tom. Sorry, I'm on my phone. I don't have Wi-Fi, unfortunately.
Go ahead, Tom.
Is Ocean Pines paying the contractor and then billing the homeowner, or is the contractor billing the homeowner and waiting for them to pay? Did you hear that?
Varies. Yeah, I'm answering it. It varies. In this situation, we will pay and then wait for the homeowner to.
Okay, can I have a motion to find number 4 Raft Road in continuing violation?
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, can I have a motion to find 19 King Richard Road in continuing violation?
So
moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, or any discussion? I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And can I have a motion to find number 9 Camelot Circle in continuing violation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion's passed. The next item is the unfinished business, and that's Frank's motion. Frank, are you going to formally withdraw that motion?
Yes, and request that it be put right now on the agenda for the meeting on the, let me look at my calendar, get it right.
21st, right?
21st of April.
Okay. All right. So that motion has been withdrawn, and Michelle will get it back on the agenda for the next board meeting on the 21st of April. Okay, for new business, I'm going to go first on this. I sent an email out to the board, I think yesterday. The Recreations and Park Committee has been working on an issue looking at establishing a handicapped playground in Ocean Pines to help provide some recreational activities for wheelchair-bound individuals, not just children, but adults, as well as individuals who may be additionally physically handicapped. There's been some preliminary work done by the Director of Parks and Recs, Debbie Donahue, on Wednesday, I guess it was, when we had the Bainbridge groundbreaking. I mentioned it to Chip Bertino, our county commissioner, and Jim Bunting. And because they had asked me what else were we going to do with Bainbridge Park. I indicated to him that the Park and Rec Committee was looking at the possibility of using that park as a handicapped playground area. The county commissioners were very excited and enthused. So at this point, I would like, this is a very preliminary thing, but I wanted to bring this to the attention of the board and get consensus from the board that we continue to explore the possibility of not only doing a handicapped playground, but also we were encouraged by the commissioners to seek assistance from the county and from the state for funding, because this will be an expensive project. We have already received correspondence from individuals in the county to Debbie Donahue and myself about moving forward with this project. So I just wanted to bring this to the board's attention to see if we have a consensus to move forward at this point to determine whether or not this is something that we want to do in Ocean Pines. Any comments?
Larry, I have a comment. I had asked you, I guess it was just yesterday, if anyone's done any sort of data gathering about the need for this in the community. I of course think it's an absolutely wonderful idea, but as we're prioritizing expenditures, what is the need for this in the community, if you know?
Yeah, and I think my response to you was, at this point, we don't know, but that's certainly something we will look into. The comments that were made at the groundbreaking included not just individuals here in the community, which we know we have some that are wheelchair bound, but also it would be a benefit for families who come down here during summer vacations, or grandparents who have children who may be in this situation. And also the county itself does not have a facility like this. So if we're going to move forward with this, certainly contribution from the county and possibly the state or federal government will be involved. But to answer your question, at this point, I don't think we have that information. John?
Yeah, Larry, I'm sorry. So and apologies, I just want to go back to the bids on the cracks just to make sure. Yes, you gave me approval to go forward last board meeting. The board gave that to me and the team. And yes, I thought you voted on it. But just to be sure, I didn't have the dollar amounts. I didn't have all the bids. And that's what I wanted to formalize now. So if the board says they already voted on it, fine, but I just want to make sure that we have the proper motion or whatever, maybe Michelle, if she's there. I didn't have all the paperwork last time. So maybe you do have to vote again, but I leave that up to the board, Michelle, whatever.
Well, John, I think we funded it during the budget process. So do you remember how much we funded during the budget process?
It was in the $35,000 range, yes.
So Larry, I think John's right that we do need to approve the spend because it exceeds his authority.
We need a motion to approve the recommendation.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So is there a motion? So let's hold on the new business for a minute. Is there a motion to approve the bid for $35,738.83 to do the maintenance work on the courts?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's approved, John.
Thank you.
So, are there any other comments on the playground issue?
Yeah, Larry, I have one. A
Sure.
couple things. Number one, yeah, I think we should pursue it, especially if there's opportunities for other funding sources other than OPA. And it sounds like the county. I was at the ceremony for the Bainbridge project as well, and Chip and Jim had mentioned there was going to be a possibility that the county and or the state could also contribute funding towards that project. So I think we should absolutely pursue it. The other thing too is, as we're planning for this, let's not lose sight of the fact that we'd have to fund it, our portion of it, if we decide to move forward with it, out of the new capital fund. And so we'd want to make sure that we have the appropriate dollars in that fund to make sure we follow it the way we set the fund up.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. This is a perfect project for that. And actually, Debbie Donahue and I had that discussion, and John and I had that discussion the other day too. So, is there any other comments?
Yeah, Larry, I support this project as well. The only other amenity that we have that specifically provides access to individuals with disabilities is our aquatics. Our pools have ADA access, and I think that certainly demonstrates that there is need in this community. We don't have exact numbers. I think we can get data on that, but I think it's a very worthy project, particularly since there is likely to be support from the county, the state, and possibly the feds on the spend.
Are there any other comments? All right, so can I just see a show of hands from the board members who are at this point feel that this is a worthwhile project to pursue, so we can move forward with it? I think everybody's okay. I don't see Tom. Tom, do you have something?
I'm good.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So the next item for new business is Colette.
Yeah, this is a discussion topic on the use of a board self-evaluation process to examine performance of board officers and directors. Concise statement. Based on board discussion, it was agreed that a board self-evaluation would be used as a tool to examine board officer and director performance and develop plans for any areas in need of improvement. Background, the OPA membership and its board of directors recognize that it is time to take stock and refocus to ensure that the board and its members are clear on purpose, roles, and strategies for improvement in performance. In the for-profit business world, as well as the nonprofit world, stakeholders are increasingly expecting to see board self-evaluation results as a measure of effectiveness and accountability. This discussion is meant to give direction to a self-evaluation process for the OPA board that is modeled after best practices. A draft self-evaluation survey was attached to this and included in the packet. This aims to examine 4 broad categories: board mission and purpose, board management relations, board composition and director performance, officer performance, and then also discussion of next steps will happen. In response to the public comment that was raised regarding this discussion is meant for transparency purposes. This is not a process that we intend to take place as part of our public meetings. This is work that we as a board need to do. The board majority, the respondents to the member survey from a couple of years ago, emails we've received, all reflect agreement that what we're looking for here is professionalism on the board, as well as running the whole operation of OPA in a business-like way. The board's role in that business-like process is to raise its level of performance to the highest level of professionalism that we can. So, this is what this is about. It's not about pointing fingers, solving problems. It's about moving the board forward. I do take exception to the statement that we have not had conflict on the board in the past. We have had conflict. We've been able to work through that conflict, sometimes through director attrition, through discussions on the board through various different means. This is another tool that we can put in our toolbox and use. And it is a tool that is increasingly being used in the business and nonprofit worlds.
Okay, are there any other discussions? Cammie?
Yep. I really encourage us to vote for this and move it forward. I think it's going to be a very helpful tool and open up some avenues for discussion.
Yeah, I don't think we're taking a vote on this today, Cammie. I think from our meetings, we decided that we were going to try to do something to help create a better working environment with the board. And I agree with this approach. And hopefully this will be beneficial for the entire board.
Yeah, and in the business world, what's happening is that boards are tacking a brief closed session onto their meetings to conduct this kind of self-evaluation and have these discussions. We're not talking about setting aside huge amounts of time, but that this type of thing becomes kind of an ongoing process to keep boards focused on the accountability to the stakeholders and transparency to the membership, as well as the professionalism that the membership deserves from us as we conduct our business as a board.
Any further discussions? So I think the intent here is that Colette will distribute the form that is included in the packet, and hopefully next month we could go into closed session after everyone has an opportunity to complete the form, and then have some open discussions about what the outcome is from the survey that's done, and hopefully improve our relations on the board.
I have a comment. So yeah, I'm looking at the email, Colette, that you sent back that said, March, we're going to have the full board discussion, April, self-evaluation, May, a closed meeting, in June. So, it looks like you're proposing at the very least, a 4-month process. And, while it's certainly, understandable, what I don't get that there's any sense of urgency for us to address this. I mean, that's scheduled to me sort of dictates that, maybe it's just an ongoing thing that'll be developed over time. And maybe that's the intent, but, I'd also want to at least have a discussion on consideration of the time frame and how it affects the, not only the current relationship, but when we can, expect to at least understand that there's possibilities for some resolutions to some of the issues we're having.
Yeah, Doug, you raise a good point there. We have committed to the public that we will, keep them informed as to actions we're going to take, tools we're going to use to increase the level of professionalism and ensure that our board is operating effectively. I would expect out of this next closed session meeting, where we look at the review, that we, probably will be coming up with some recommendations for ourselves. And at that point, we may be in the following meeting reporting back to the membership on, anything that we're going to be doing that they would need to, be informed of. I think that I think part of our discussion is, how we want to use this tool, and do we want it to be an ongoing process, or is it a static process? In my research on how this is done in the business world, it's been used as an ongoing process that boards take stock kind of on an ongoing basis. And there's been mention of concern about mentorship of board members and, helping board members become effective in the work that they do. And this seems to be a process that the business world, both nonprofit and profit business, is using to facilitate that. So I think that's part of the discussion that we may want to have in our closed session next month, to come to some consensus agreement about how to go forward.
Oh boy. Okay. Any other comments on this?
I just make a clarity on something, if I can. Okay, because I've been through this process before. And there's two aspects of it. And this clearly addresses one, and that's how you work together. But make no mistake about it, there's another aspect too that boards are held accountable to that we have not done in the past as a board that we should do is the future. And that is at the beginning of the year, clearly state to the community what we plan to achieve and measure results in achieving what we said we want to do. Because working well together and achieving nothing doesn't solve any problems in the community.
That's a great point, Frank. I would certainly agree with that. And I think, that's another thing that I will reflect back to the comments that were made earlier. I would say that if we took stock of our achievements over the past, 3.5 years that I've been on the board, our boards have achieved a lot. But I think that we have not been explicit in articulating those goals and those accomplishments to the public. So I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, well, let me add some. So having been at the executive level in corporate America for quite a long time throughout my career, I've been through this process before, both at the executive level and interacting with boards, board of directors for the organizations. I've seen mixed results. Sustainability is one of them. As boards change, as things happen, and within the organization, the the sustainability of something like that tends to wane a little bit. I want to make sure that I go back to the timeline aspect of it, and it sounds to me like we're going to make this effort, but it's going to be a long process. And my question is, as we're going through this process, how are we managing our environment? Are we just accepting it and expecting a change in 4 months, or are we actively managing it as we go through? I think, to Frank's point, that perhaps one other way to consider it would be to focus on our recent accomplishments and try to identify some future accomplishments and measure against that. I think that in and of itself would help the interaction among us as we share opinions on where we're going with, as a board and the things that are relevant to the community. I'm not as enthusiastic about filling out a survey and expecting, results to come from that when we've all got our own experiences and our own opinions on things and so on and so forth. I'm not saying it's not fixable. I'm just saying that I'd also want to look at other ways of getting to that point where we are actually producing and managing ourselves appropriately for the membership.
All right, is there any further discussion?
Yeah, Doug, I would just say that filling out this survey, really is a minor part of the process. The survey gives us some discussion points, and I think the survey will help us identify those discussion points that are most salient to our current performance concerns. And that, we would certainly want to have some goals and accomplishments that come from that.
All right, Cammie?
Cammie?
Can't hear you.
I'm going to have to say goodbye. I have to be in Albuquerque in 8 minutes on my granddaughter's bat mitzvah.
Okay.
So just wanted to let you know that I'm leaving. If somebody will note the time of adjournment, I'd appreciate it.
All right. All right, any other discussions? All right, well, let's move to appointments. We have, I'll read the list of appointments, and if we can vote on them all at once at the end. We have Yvette Tanious, first term Budget and Finance. Bob O'Malley, first term Racquet Sports. Tom Piatti, Chairman, first term Search Committee. Andie Davis, first term Search Committee. Andie Davis, first term Strategic Planning. Marlene Knott, first term Communications. And Elaine Brady, a 1-year extension, Communications. Can I have a motion to accept these appointments?
So moved.
There's a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Or can I have a motion to adjourn? I think we're done.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
And the time is 11:54. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone.